Oh, God bless America, oh land that I love. Bless America. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light up above. From the mountains to the prairie to the ocean, white wood foam. God bless America, whoa, my home, sweet home. God bless America, oh, my home, sweet, that place. Yeah, good to see you, James and Collins and Myland and Aikens and Neal and Logan. Giannet is here. And Johnson and Bellamy and Carter and a whole bunch of y'all coming in here. Listen, today's show is going to warrant me a bunch of thumbs down. And I'm ready for it. I really don't care today. Bass.
It's the show that will get you thinking, and where the topics are hot. Feel free to comment whether we agree or not, 'cause he's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones. He's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones Show.
Come on in. The water's fine. Oh, ooh. Hey y'all, how y'all is? Hello everybody, Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here, it is the evening edition. Baby, come on in, water's fine, water's fine. Today I'm going to talk about two things here, three shootings. I'm going to focus on two though. Man, listen, this is tough. I didn't sleep at all last night. I didn't sleep at all last night. I got up about 4 this morning, tossed and turned, because I was thinking about the plight, our situation here in America. I was thinking about how bad it has gotten. Well, you have to remember that it was bad during my father's time. It was bad during Jim Crow time. It was bad, of course. It was bad during slavery time. It was just bad. But right now we're seeing things clearer because we have cell phones. We have cell phones, and we're seeing shootings right in front of our eyes, and it is senseless shootings by those of authority who are supposed to serve and protect. Now, with that being said, I'm going to say some things that, again, is not going to sit too good with you people who usually are marching in the streets with Black Lives Matter, and you're picketing, and you're rioting, and you're looting, or you're doing peacefully. Really, it doesn't matter to me. I have to present what I feel is right to say because I believe in being well balanced. I'm a well-balanced man. I believe I am, especially in my teaching. And I tend to rub people wrong, those who are my brothers and my sisters, my pastors, my elder friends, and bishops and apostles. The denomination that I serve in, the Church of God in Christ, I tend to rub them wrong because I say things that I believe is truth and I try and back it up in the scriptures. Today I want to talk about the social unrest, black, white, brown people, and citizens versus the police force. It's bad out there, and I'm going to focus on a little bit on Chicago, and I'm going to focus a little bit on the Minnesota situation, okay? And then be done and look at the thumbs down and your hate mail, and go and get something to eat and go to sleep, because I got no sleep since I woke up this morning. None. I'm not sure how I'm still breathing. But I want to talk about George Floyd versus Adam Toledo. Adam Toledo was a young man who got shot here by a police officer in the alley, in a place in a part of Chicago where I know for a fact, because I used to go and visit my editor there almost weekly when I was trying to finish my book, The Four Women That Men Desire. My editor's office is in Little Village. Was it Little Italy? Little Village, yeah, Little Village. And I knew not to be caught in a certain area around there after dark. So I know how really rough it is on the police officers in that area. Someone wanted me to bring up the whole Brooklyn Center, Minnesota shooting. Dante Wright, I believe his name. The difference between a taser and a gun. I see your pictures. I see the 700 Club's even talking about it in a positive light. Y'all put it on my wall, and I see the comparison here and there. If you've not been trained in the police force, you really won't understand what's going on. If you don't work in a factory, you wouldn't understand. If you're not a lawyer, if you're not a judge, you wouldn't understand. If you're not a minister of the gospel, you wouldn't understand the kickbacks, the fights that we have to break up, and the bullets that fly over our heads, and the stabbing of our backs. If you never sat in the seat of someone, you wouldn't understand. So we look at a television and we see a footage of a cell phone, and we come to a conclusion where the jury is out. You're the jury, and then y'all are deliberating at your homes, and then you come to a conclusion on a matter. Guilty. Most times, that's what's happening. So I interviewed a police officer on my show a few years ago, and he was on the force for a few years, and he told me about the training of police officers in Chicago. And he told me why he left the force. He left the force because, like me, as it pertains to preachers, he left because he saw some things he did not like, and he wanted to speak up about it, but he knew that he was up against the force. The biggest gang and the most dangerous gang in the country is the police force. You understand? So he was in that force, and he saw he was a good cop trying to blow a whistle on some of the bad cops, and they were trying to reassign him to desk or reassign him out of the city or in places where, he can just shoot fly, don't bother me. And he says he couldn't do it, and he had to leave. Officer Kim Potter, she's a 26-year veteran on the force. Now, they charged her with second-degree manslaughter, second-degree manslaughter. You kind of got to do that. Some of y'all say it should be murder one. Well, you really don't want it to be murder one, because the chances of her getting that not being able to stick is to her advantage. That's why you'll see second-degree or third-degree, because it's easier to fight the further the degree is. It's easier to get a conviction charge on the second and third than it would be first, because to prove that it's first, you must prove the intent of the heart, of the mind, body, and soul of the cop to kill this person. And this is why sometimes prosecutors will go with a second-degree manslaughter. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Yes, it's called the blue wall. Absolutely. All right. So the difference between a taser and a gun. Have you ever held a gun? Have you ever held a taser? Have you ever had to wear the both of them on you? Huh? Have you ever had to? You never had to. Well, I'm sorry. I cannot properly come forth and say she did or she did not know the difference between the two. I started my show off by saying, if you've never been trained, if you never sat in that office, served in that position, it's difficult to look at a video and say, you should have known the difference between this. I don't know. I've never held a taser. I've held a gun, but I've never held a taser. And if I did hold a taser and hold a gun, I don't have to do this every day. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, what I will say, though, the young man who died, Dante writes, still, whatever he did not warrant him being shot to death. And I'm basing this off of the officer who was on my show, and he called these officers who shoot a person who's running, he called them punks. You're a punk. He says, if I pull someone over or if I see someone on the street and we're talking and then I notice that there's no weapon on this person and I see that this person has gotten a little heated, a little angry, and I'm going to have to defend myself, he says, I use my fist and beat the hell out of this perpetrator. I don't use a gun. Why? Because I'm not a punk. And if you join the force and you're going through all that training, yeah, and rigorous exercises or what have you, and a black man or whoever it is running, and you need to pull out your weapon to shoot a man in the back, you are a punk. You understand? And I agree with him. For a person to shoot into a car while a person is driving off, whether he's getting away, whether he's resisting arrest, you still a punk to shoot at a car. Whether you shooting at the car with a taser or you shooting at the car, I know the door was open, with the gun, you're a punk to shoot at a person who's running away. So I'm sorry to say that I'm not, Officer Kim Potter is not innocent, because it was a punk move to shoot at an object that's going away from you. Your life was not in danger. Now, if she intended to take the taser, if her intent was to try and tase him to stop him, I can see that. And this is where the dividing the thin line is. I can see that if you're that close to a person, but the video shows something different a little bit. Still kind of shaky because of these body cams, what have you. So I will agree with most of you that Kim Potter should be charged with second-degree manslaughter. Why? Because it was a punk move. All right? So we can all agree with that. But as I continue, you all are not going to agree with me. All right? Elliot Banks, thank you for the super chat. That's going to be the only one that's going to come in tonight. Yeah, it's a capital. You're a capital punk. Okay. All right, enough of the Brooklyn Center, Minnesota thing. Listen, I examine everything. I overly examine things, which is why it takes me so long to answer some of y'all's questions, because I examine it. I think, I process it. While I'm talking, I'm processing it. And I try to figure out what is the beginning, what is the history, what is the etymology, what is the origin of this thing, this matter. All right? I sit within the council of philosophers who at least they think they are. Theologians, and we sit and we chatter it up, and iron sharpens iron. We try to figure out, okay, what does this mean? Because if I present this to the public, if I'm a pastor and I present this topic to my audience, to the members that God entrusted me with, I must make sure that I examine every jot and tittle. I got to make sure that I don't give them bad information, because the information that I give them, they'll take it and teach it to their children. And before you know it, we got generations and generations of cognitive dissonance raising up. You understand? So I examine everything. I'm like an archaeologist of the word. It takes me a long time to read a Bible chapter because I'm examining words that I may not have seen before, or I've seen it before, but I still need to know, what does it mean in the Greek? What does it mean in the Hebrew? Maybe what does it mean in the Aramaic? All right, how do we dissect this thing? You know, that's just the way it is. Boys break toys to find out how it works. When I had toys, I had a car, a remote control car when I was a little boy. It was a van, actually, and I thought this thing was so amazing, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to know what made this thing tick, and I grabbed one of my father's screwdrivers and unscrewed it and tried to figure out how does this thing operate like this. Remote control. You got this thing in your hand and there's no strings attached to it. How is this thing doing this? That's me. That's probably some of you as well. Somebody asked me about the cross. All right. I was able to answer it because I didn't want to be ordained as an elder and put stuff on. All right. And I don't know what it means. This here is a collar. You know, sometimes we wear it around our neck here. All right, well, where does it start? Some people, when we see some of the ministers wearing this, right away people say that's a Catholic a band there. The Catholics didn't invent this. The Presbyterians invented this. The Catholics borrowed it from the Presbyterians. And many of you didn't know that. And what they did was it doesn't represent something so significant other than it separates the workers, the clergy, and sometimes laity wear these. There's more embroidered is inside of their shirt, okay? But they wear these to separate them from the laity. Number two, it's a yoke. Again, we are workers, or we are slaves to the Lord, and it is a yoke that is around our neck to bind us to the Lord. All right, this many times when y'all see me talking, you don't usually see the cross because I keep this cross, or what's called the pectoral cross. I keep it in my pocket because that's where my heart is. You understand? And so these are significance, and I don't just wear uniforms and outfits and all this stuff and not know what it is. So I examine everything, and I'm hoping that you all do that as well. But I want to talk about this shooting so that we can get a bigger picture of why you all should not be running in with the in crowd so much. Y'all run with the in crowd too much. Too much. That's it, Truth Reigns. They are trained to kill. That's why they are given other devices to use instead. Yes, that's right. You are right. Yes. Come on, Smart Show. Always good to see you. Yeah, you are right. All right. So the Joker, the Riddler, the Iceman, all of these men had something in common. What? They were obsessed. The Joker was obsessed. The Riddler was obsessed. The Iceman was obsessed. And what were they, or who were they obsessed with? They were obsessed with Batman and Robin. They spent every waking day obsessed with him. They wanted Batman and Robin dead. I find that some of you or your circles, the truth reigns, they were mentally ill. And I find that many of you, when you wake up in the morning, you act like some of the atheists who I know, who shows up here on some of my shows. Atheists have an obsession. And you know what the atheist obsession is? They are obsessed with hating God. They are obsessed with hating God. They say, we don't believe in God. That further proves my point. You are obsessed. Well, no, it doesn't. No, it's in your name, atheist. You speak more about atheism than you do anything, which means you're wasting your time. You're not getting anything done. Your Facebook page says atheist. Your YouTube channel is the happy atheist or the modest atheist or something like that. The humble atheist. All right, you spend your ever waking moment hating God, which is a waste of your time and mine. Many of you are very pro-black. You're activist, but you're so pro-black you can't see white unless it's in a negative light. You can't see Asian. I mean, you can't see a Muslim. You can't, depending on whether depending on your religious stance. You're so pro-black, everything is pro-black, and there is no balance in your life. I fight for the rights of African Americans. I've always have. I come up under civil rights parents. I come up under a civil rights organization. The church that I'm in is fault in the civil rights, and the organization that I'm up under. You can't think of civil rights if the Church of God in Christ is not involved. Gosh, Martin Luther King gave his last speech in the Church of God in Christ at our headquarters, and many of the pastors and bishops of our churches marched with this man. You understand? But when you're so pro-black, you can't even, you don't have time to get into the scriptures. You don't have time to shoot the breeze with your children. You don't go to your kids' ball games and their recitals. You don't spend no time in the word with your babies. You don't. You have no balance. That's all you talk about is black this, black power, and Black Lives Matter. That's it. That's your whole life. And the world is passing you by. You're not even talking about generational wealth. Your kids don't know nothing about the stock market, foreign exchange, or Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies, and blockchains, and index funds and mutual funds. They know nothing about none of that stuff because you're spending too much time fighting for the rights of black people all day long. That's it. They forget to love just being human. To love, that is, yes, all day long. You're just as bad as the atheists. There is no difference between you and them. Earl Carter was offended by the Church of God in Christ, and in 99% of his videos, he's obsessed with the Church of God in Christ. Obsessed. Lately, he's been obsessed with Larry Reed. Obsessed. Where is the gospel? Candace Owens is obsessed with what? Talking about the downtrodden and the plight, mostly in the negative, with black people. She's obsessed with reporting to white people about the unfortunate lifestyle and situations of black communities. Our sister, she's obsessed with it to the point where she'll always have a job because she has a cushion, because Caucasian America love her, and they'll finance her to the very end. You keep feeding us this and we'll keep supporting you. Here's the thing. Candace Owens at times is correct. She's correct. Why? Because a broke clock is correct how many times a day? T-Vox, where you been? I miss you. Huh? How many times a day? Used to be the police shoot to lame, but now they shoot to kill. They need to be reformed. Yeah, I'm getting there, Joanne. I'm getting there. Obsessed. I believe that current affairs have divided us. Yeah, a broke clock. It's correct twice. So Candace Owens is correct at least 2 times a day. But here's the problem with truth. When it comes out of the mouth of a certain person, truth cannot be heard. Especially when it comes out of the mouth of a fool. You can't believe a word that they say, even though it's the truth. Fox News sometimes they say truthful things, and they bring up some of the statistics of blacks shooting blacks and what have you. They bring it up, and sometimes it's true. Sometimes. But we can't hear it. Why? Because who it's coming from doesn't feel good, even when it's true. But when you focus your whole program on that one thing, this is why we have a balance problem. We have an imbalance problem in America. Current affairs have divided us The medical industry is divided. I've never seen such division in the medical and the science industry before in all my life. How is it possible these men and women who are responsible for the health and well-being of the American citizens, they have a responsibility. They went to school for so many years. They spent over $100,000 in their education and in medical school, what have you, so that they could take the Hippocratic oath and all this stuff. And they are divided once the pandemic came, COVID-19 came. And what happened? They said this and this side said that, and confused us who know nothing about medicine other than what they have told us. The Republicans are not for all this science, not for all this global warming, but the Democratic Party is. So there's a fight, there's a division in Congress, there's a division among the two parties. And we haven't seen this type of division since the Civil War, I believe. So if the medical industry is split, and they are both looking, and they are as a whole looking at me to heal me of this disease. And this doctor is saying, give him this. And this doctor said, no, don't give him that. It'll kill me. I'm jacked up. The religious community is divided. It's been divided since the scriptures, since the first century church. Paul talked about, I wasn't crucified for you. You said you're a follower of Apollos. You a follower of Silas. You follow of Paul. Don't put that on me. So we pastors are divided, even in the scriptures. I'm giving inductive and you giving deductive. I'm giving exegetical, you giving eisegetical. It's all jacked up. We take one scripture and create a whole denomination based off of one text. So you split, apostolic or split from the Kojic, and then the Assemblies of God split, and then the full gospel split, and all this stuff, because the religious community is divided. The legal community is divided about laws. The educational community is divided. How many teachers have I spoken to and said this new math makes no sense? No, this new math is perfect. And then the teachers, the parents are at home trying to figure out, wait a minute, are y'all fighting over our students, over our children? The political system is divided, as we know, and Congress can't get nothing done because they're fighting. They stormed, allowed the American people who call themselves patriots to storm the house, the people's house, and then they defended the stormers. Who does that? America. And of course, you, the court of public opinion, you've always been divided. You've always been divided. Always. Nurse says, where are these different denominations in the Bible? There are so many. I know. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, last time I checked. Not sure where they all come from, but they're there. The medical community became split when they allowed politics to enter into the equation. Yep. Whatever the belief of the party, it did not. Yep. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that assessment. The DSM, the diagnostic, systematic diagnostic manual of mental health. All right, it's a long name. I mean, they were divided when it came to homosexuality. It used to be considered a mental illness in the 1970s, and they had to change it because it was offensive to those who were on the board who was sensitive to this. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. All right. So I see what you're sending me. I've seen that before. And the fight over this thing here about whites being arrested, whites being treated nicely by cops, and blacks usually getting killed by a cop or at least harmed is correct. How many police are in your town? How many police per capita are in your town. Thank you, Truth Reigns, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. How many? How many? I'm a statistic man. George Floyd lived a transgressor's life. All right? Again, thumbs down. He lived a transgressor's life. Proverbs 13:15 says, good understanding giveth favor, but the way of a transgressor is hard. All right? But what caused him to live this way? And who failed him? And who do George Floyd represent in our communities? I'm talking about before the killing. Who do he represent in our community? Somebody failed him. Obviously, there was some mental stress there with George Floyd. Obviously. Now, here's the thing. Did George Floyd deserve to die? No. George Floyd was murdered by a cop. And most of us, white and black, Republican and Democrat, most of us have agreed that Officer Derek Chauvin murdered that man. Not by mistake. That was cold blood. Something rose up in this officer for him to decide that I'm going to subdue this Floyd guy because he would not obey my commands. There was a scuffle, as we know. And I've seen in a lot of police videos and talking to policemen here that once a scuffle happened and you don't do what I say, a man of authority, something happens to the cop psychologically. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Something happens with these cops mentally. And when something snaps mentally, then what happens is either fight or flight, or if you are a racist, you will become a super racist with superhuman power. If you have an angry spirit, if there's something loose up there, you will turn powerful and overpower someone in your dismantled mental state. You turn into a killer. That's it, T-Box. They don't like losing control. They don't. How many times have we seen videos where the police was telling a black man, raise the window down, lower the window down? And he have his window cracked and he's got his cell phone watch. Lower the window. Why are you want me to raise my window down? No, why? And the cop gets so frustrated that his fury, you can see the fury that comes over him and he can't take it anymore. What is that? He's metamorphosing into this demon, this imbalance that's in him. It begins to rise up in him and he's out of control, and his training, he throws it out. This military man who got pulled over at that gas station, remember? And he has his hands up in that truck with the windows down. The one cop was so full of fury that he couldn't control his anger. His cop buddy was a little more subdued to the point where he was like, okay, he walked up to the window, just let me just talk to you. And his overpowering buddy says, move out the way, Jim, or whatever his name was. And then what did he do? Then he sprayed the black man. He sprayed him in the face, kept spraying him. Why? Something overtook this man because you disobeyed my authority. This happens to a lot of cops all over the country. Yeah, the Incredible Hulk analogy. Yep, David Banner. The actress, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Is there proper training in the police force for this, or are they just training the cops to shoot to kill or to de-escalate? Evidently, they're not properly training them to de-escalate because of after the George Floyd killing, we started seeing police chiefs come forward and saying we're going to retrain and try and find a way to show our cops how to de-escalate more, or to call in a medical professional to a house instead of calling for the cop to the house, which means they were not being properly trained on matters of the mind. Do you understand? So this meme that the brother sent me in the inbox was the white that boy who shot and killed the 9 parishioners in the church. They took that boy to McDonald's, I think. We keep seeing these things where I've seen white boys run from cops, reach for the cops' guns and stuff like that, and they still walked away. We're just in handcuffs. We're seeing this. I'm not blind to the imbalance of the police force and the fear that these white cops have when they go up into the black neighborhoods. It took them to Burger King, Lawrence says. So let's analyze this. Let's break this down. Truth says no, they are being properly trained. I spoke with an ex-captain last night and he asked me nothing about the training. No, they. Oh yeah. I read that wrong. Yeah, I know they're not being properly trained. Yeah, white cops don't fear their own. This is fear. I'm trying to tell y'all, they fear us, and once you realize that once fear take over a person who don't look like you, then he then shifts mentally into a defense mode to whereas you're going to lose, and he's going to fester up every strength and ability and the out of control is his control, is his weapon. His out of control is his weapon. It's bad. Yeah, I get with you, ZZ. That's fear born out of guilt. A lot of it is. A lot of the problems are psychological. And here comes the training part. I can only describe it as if you were to look at all incidents on the map of the world, it would be similar to lightning striking. Yeah. Yeah. A drug screen for police involved shooting. Yes, Victoria, absolutely. And they're rolling that out too. Because if you unload your weapon, just one bullet, you've got to account for that one bullet. And the police reports is up the wazoozy, and you can't be on the force. You're on the force, but you on leave or whatever they call that thing, administrative leave, until they investigate this thing. All this stuff. Why? Because once a bullet leaves the gun, something happens psychologically inside of a person. It's the same effect as a dog who bites a child and blood. That dog tastes blood. Now, what happens? The city got to take that dog down. The city got to kill that animal once it tastes blood. The police force is no different. Once a bullet leaves that barrel, you've got to set the police down. Why? Something snapped, like in that animal. The blood begins, as it tastes blood, its nature can't decipher. They're not as intelligent as we are to know that you don't eat blood. But the dog, its nature would think, this might be something normal. So let me go and bite another child and take his blood. Thank you, Truth. You helped me with the words. A chamber. Good to see you, Michelle Carter. I heard many times trained cops are in the white neighborhoods. White rookie cops are out and encouraged. That's where I was going next. I talked to too many cops here. I was a part of a police, Chicago, the CPD choir. I had about, 50, 60 choir members in my choir. I was the only civilian in this choir. They brought me in to train the Chicago Police Department choir. All right, y'all be like, Walter, you in everything. Yes. and I have video of it. All right. And we traveled the city, singing around the city, and I would have rehearsals with them at Area 1. I believe Area 2. I think it was Area 2 here in Chicago, South Side. And I would walk in that room with all these men and women with the guns and the tasers and the billy clubs and all this stuff, with all that weaponry on there. And when I walked in the room, I demanded authority from them. Sit down. They would sit down. I stand them up. They stand up. Sing this note. They sing that note. If they're disrupting, if their radios are going, I said, turn that off or leave. Or they would leave. They obeyed my authority. That was God. God gave me that authority to give and to have over them. And so what I was doing was I was having private lessons with them. They would come to my house because many of them wanted to sign up for private vocal lessons, and several of them did. The conversations that come out of those sessions there, they turned into psychological lessons, sessions. I was their counselor in a sense, and they would talk to me and tell me about the stress of being a police officer in this, especially here in the city of Chicago. Some of the neighborhoods that they would walk up and down and travel up and down, and fear would take over them. Even though they got all the training in the world, they can pick up the phone and the horn or whatever and call for backup, blah, blah, blah. It don't matter. Fear. They don't know what's getting ready to happen. They don't know if it's some young punk who's a teenager going to shoot us or kill us. It doesn't matter about back then they didn't really have, all the cops didn't have the proper bulletproof vests. They had bulletproof vests, but it was so old. It was so beat up. The city just wasn't buying the vests for the police officers. And many of them were involved in domestic violence, where the man was beating the wife, and the wife was all kind of stuff, the stress of that department. Where the white cops lived in nice, uppity, posh, safe, quiet neighborhoods, and when they wake up in the morning, they knew that they were going to be assigned to black neighborhoods, and they looked at being assigned to black neighborhoods as Afghanistan, Iraq, war. You understand? So once they left the house and they drove in town and they went into their precincts or what have you, and they got their assignment to go into the black communities, they knew. They often asked themselves the question, am I going to make it home back to my children or not? And so they walk in our neighborhoods like this. Even if it's a domestication, even if it's just a cat up a tree, they walk in the neighborhood like this. The white cops, they walking like this, ready for war. That's psychological. So when Cup Foods called the cops on George Floyd, we would have hoped, because hindsight is 20/20. Even the clerk said, I wish I had not called the cops. I wish I had called someone else. But they called the cops. And the wrong man showed up. Chauvin showed up. I don't even know if his cop buddies would have done what Chauvin did. Just because they all together don't mean they all alike. And I believe, like we've seen with that black military man, notice these two cops who were standing outside of his truck, the one was more timid than the other. Good cop, bad cop in a sense. and Chauvin, something overtook him because of his adrenaline and George Floyd not giving in to his demands. He put his knee on George Floyd till he took his last breath. And he put his hands in his pocket to rest himself. And he can feel the last breath coming out of that boy. And he's pretty much, all right. Next, what was that? That was the dog who bit the boy and tasted blood. They are afraid. Yes. Come on, Elizabeth. They also feel hated by the people and backed into a corner fearing for their life. There it is. Elizabeth know about that. Elizabeth, aren't you like a girl in blue where you are? Mm-hmm. We all agreed regarding the Floyd murder as we watched in belief until the riots, protesting, burning, and the looting, and then we were left with the raw anger of the black man and the reality of systematic racism which demanded a response. That's long, Amber. That's long. Yeah. And immediately and innately their flight, instincts were ignited. Exactly. It wasn't always that way. Approximately 15, 20 years ago, they started assigning white cops in the black. Yep, it was. Yes, I agree. Truth reigns. I was watching a documentary, and this former female white supremacist said most white supremacists are judges. Yes, trust me. I totally agree with that. Yes. Security officer. Yeah, I thought you were. So she's speaking from experience. That's why I'm reading, especially reading your comments, because I know the line of work that you do. He smirked when he pleaded the fifth. Yeah, did you all see that smirk? He knows that judge is on. Yeah. We saw it. We saw it all. It's disheartening to see that. So the man killed George Floyd. Cold blood. Broad daylight, because number one, lack of training, which means lack of sensitivity and de-escalation. All right, they're not trained on the aspect of psychology. They're not on the mental distress of the citizens. They're not trained like a doctor is not trained on holistic wholeness. Things that you can mix in your home. All right, doctors are trained on how to maybe fix an arm with the latest medical breakthroughs, or they're trained on being in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies to here pop a pill, and all this stuff, right? But the doctors usually some of them knowing that they could a patient can be healed by some of the remedies Madea would bring forth, but Madea's remedies don't pay the doctor's bills. Now, some doctors are honest to say, listen, I don't know anything about holistic stuff, so you can go to a person who does this, and they'll tell them they'll send them to a what do you call a person who's into holistic life? A nutritionist or something like that? Okay, they'll send an honest doctor will do that. But if he's trying to pay his mortgage, he ain't trying to send you to somebody who's holistic. It's not doing it. Some don't believe that people of color are human beings. Oh yeah, we're still looked to as monkeys. Oh, absolutely. Why are they not like officers Tommy Norman? He knows the people in his community. Have y'all seen the officer? He is white but work in the black community. No, where is this Ruth Chester? Where are you? By the way, he had on black gloves. His hands were not in his pocket. Oh, he had on black gloves? Are you sure that, Elizabeth? You talking about Chauvin? He had on black gloves? I gotta look at that again, because he sure looked like he had his hands in his pocket. What y'all say about that? Did he have his hands in the pocket, or did he have on black gloves? Because remember, what's her name? The white woman, the cop in the courthouse where the young man hugged her. He asked the judge if he could hug her. What was her name? God's watch. He had on black gloves. Okay. Gianna says that as well. All right. So, remember when the black cop, the black woman cop, looked like she was combing the white cop's hair, and y'all went crazy? Look at this sister. You see, that's what happened when a white person kills a black man, blah blah blah, and they get the royal treatment. Y'all murdered the judge for allowing her to minister to the white cop, the woman, and then y'all murdered the bailiff for combing the girl's hair until you found out that the girl wasn't trying to beautify this white woman. Amber Geiger. Thank you, Deatrice. She wasn't combing the hair to beautify her. She was checking her hair for weapons. Derek Chauvin did not have hands in his pocket. Okay, so he had black gloves on. So you see? So I was checked right there. That's why I hate looking at videos. Yeah, T-Vox, they were going in on Amber Geiger. And Christians was like, how dare you minister the gospel to that white woman? They were treating Amber Geiger as if the judge says, all right, you're free to go. I'm amazed at y'all. Does anyone see my question? Can sensitivity be trained? Oh, yeah. Delula, was that your initial question? Can sensitivity be trained? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, what's happening here, y'all? Good cops has failed us. Good cops failed us. Good cops failed the system. And good cops are afraid as well. They are afraid. Good preachers failed us too. Why? Paul was talking about prophets. If there are several prophets in the room and one is prophesying, he says the other ones should sit back and wait and judge the other prophets who are going forth. Unfortunately, today they're not doing that. They're just letting people be. Remember, Noel Jones was crying on that Zoom meeting with the other preachers, and he was like, we failed them. We failed them. They're wondering why. Why did y'all lie to us? Remember that? And we wept with him. But after I got through weeping with them, I wanted to say what I did say. Hey, bruh, it's a little too late for that. Where were y'all when your boys were raping the people spiritually? Where were y'all? Good cops. Where were you? You can't legislate a heart, only God. I don't think that was the question about legislating a heart. That wasn't the question. Good cops and good preachers fail. Yes. Truth reign is here, y'all. Should the become a cop if they are scared of black people? Well, how do you know? How will we even know to even vet that? Well, we're gonna ask them, are you afraid to go to the black neighborhood? What are they gonna say? Man, they're trying to get a check. But what's the problem is the police department is hiring regular people and trying to train them in the way the system trains cops. And most times the training is quick and they miss some things, like your students miss some things. And when they graduate from high school and they try to get into college, do an entrance exam, stuff like that, or they want to take an SAT test or all these other tests, they miss a whole lot of questions because the school system let them down. The teacher let them down. The curriculum let them down. So as far as training cops, we're taking some guy from the military. He wants to continue in that type of force, and so he joined the police force. And mentally, how do you examine him? Okay, psychological testing. You missed me. Yeah. Okay, but what was your statement on that? What were you talking about? Like a parent who doesn't reprimand the child and enable it. Yes, David Weaver. Richard says there are pictures of him with gloves in pocket also. Richard Kennedy. All right, I need to pull the picture up to see. I mean, I'd like to know, because y'all giving me two different tales, because it sure looked like that man had his hands in his pocket. I'm gonna see if I can find something on that. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Y'all, this man got his hands in his pocket. this man got his hands in his pocket. How do I put this on the screen? He got black gloves on, and it looks like his gloves is in his pocket. That would look like to me. It would look like to me. Could have been both. It was a long time. Pastors have the same treatment sometimes when introduced to a new group of denominations. Reginald Randall, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm looking at this, and it sure looked like he got his hands in his pocket with the black gloves. It just looked like it, y'all. Again, I could be wrong. Still frames make it look as if, there's a whole bunch of still frames. There's a whole bunch of frames here. A whole bunch of them. Yeah. It looked like he got his hands in his pocket. Look at the angle of his hands according to how they fit in the pocket. Yeah, it just looks like it. Y'all could be right. I ain't denying that. Y'all could be right. But I say it looked like he got his hands in his pocket. It doesn't matter. The man killed a man. Because y'all are split here. Half of you saying that he got his gloves on and his glove is in his pocket. And the other half saying no. So I don't want to spend too much time on the murderer. So a case like this, I can't be moved. I can't be moved. He murdered a man. I just can't. I'm not looking for loopholes in the Chauvin case. I'm not. It looks as if he was waiting for him to die. And yes, his hands do appear to be in his pocket and he's chilling. Yeah, Ruben. Yeah, that's what it looked like. Again, I cannot say yay or nay. And I see Amber putting that USA Today thing there. All right, so y'all still split, even though the media is telling y'all that he did not have his hands in the pocket. I think that's minuscule and minute compared to him choking his life out. Don't want to spend that much time on that. It has been taught from birth through childhood. I believe in cases it is a lifetime of practice. That's why I believe it is a generational issue passed from, yes, I believe that. Yeah, Crawford, they had to make him get off. Even the EMT workers, y'all was saying that the EMT workers were fake because of the uniform that they had on. Y'all remember that? Y'all was like, they claim that they called the EMT worker. No, these were cops acting like they were EMT workers, and they shoved that man in the back of the truck. Y'all remember? The nation was divided on everything that happened on that street. The point is, what you said, hands in pocket or not, he's dead. Yeah, that's my point. All right. I was talking about the cops failing, the good cops. They failed us. Good preachers don't turn in other good or bad preachers. When good men keep silent, we already have a problem with our Caucasian brothers and sisters are keeping quiet when one of theirs killed one of us, and it's not justified. So we're marching against violence. We should be marching against white silence. Number one. Number two, we should be marching against black silence as well, because your kid, Pookie, carjacks me or breaks in my house. You see it because you're living in the neighborhood. You saw it. You know who the kid is. But you won't tell the kid, the cops that is, when I call the police, you won't tell the police who this kid is. So it's easy to say that the whites are keeping silent when many of the murders in our neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, can be solved. Many of them can. But the neighborhood is afraid. Do y'all understand? We keep pointing the finger at everybody else. We do. It's a code, yes. Under a code is why. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's Jess. Martin, yep. Good men are silent. Evil prevails. Yeah. Street code. BS. I would like your thoughts about how Chicago is a liberal city, but not great for black folks. I think in some instances it's worse than the South. No. I lived here all my life. I did a small stint in South Dakota. And some of the greatest opportunities for African Americans were here in Chicago. You have to live here. At one time, Chicago, just maybe 3-4 years ago, Chicago was the 18th safest city in the country. Believe it or not, it's still not on the top 20 list as the worst cities in America. It's not. That's a whistle, a dog whistle from most of white media. You got to be careful of that. You got to understand. You know how many million people live here? So if you've got 600 murders in Chicago, a lot of them by African Americans, but yet there's 3, 4, 5 million people in Chicago per capita. That's actually small compared to if there were 600 people that were shot or murdered in, I don't know, Maine or maybe Detroit or somewhere like that, which is a smaller metropolis. Gosh, some of the greatest opportunities I've ever got as a black man was here in Chicago. Now, is it a racist city? Yep. Is it a segregated city? I think Chicago is probably the most segregated city in America. The most segregated. But the segregation means no opportunity for African Americans? Absolutely not. No. I know this don't really mean that much to some of you, but the hierarchy of those in politics, black folks, from the mayor on down, there's a lot of black CEOs here in Chicago who are making a killing. Bronzeville here in Chicago is rich with African American culture and opportunity. Yeah, so it's been good to me. I made some good money here in Chicago. Thank you, Vicky. It's definitely segregated, and I don't see that as a problem. No, absolutely not. It may not be a problem to many people. To some, it may be, but it hasn't affected me. The segregation part hasn't affected me whatsoever. Yeah, Milwaukee is too, Regina. And Jess says Philadelphia. It's the same way. Someone must hold a person accountable to their actions. Death should not be the sentence, but the outcome cannot be determined after choosing to be. That's good, Delula. You're always so intellectual when you. That's good. All right. Was the Garden of Eden perfect? Yes. The Garden of Eden was created by God. It was flawless. Even with both trees in the garden, it was perfect. So what was the problem with the Garden of Eden? Adam was the problem. Even though Adam was not deceived. You understand? The garden was perfect. It did what God told it to do. And the deception came through Eve, not Adam. The problem is that even though Adam was not deceived, it makes Adam even worse because he did it on purpose. Why did he do it? Fear. Adam was afraid. What was Adam afraid of? Adam was afraid he was going to lose his wife. She was bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh. Adam was the problem. Because he knew what he was doing. The Bible says that he was not deceived. But he loved his wife that much that and I'm telling you, ladies, that's why I tell y'all on Monday, I told y'all last Monday that men, they are the first ones that fall in love. I asked the question on last Monday's show, and I guess I'll ask it again tomorrow on Monday. Who falls in love first, the man or the woman? Most of the women said the women, and you're incorrect. Men fall in love first, and they fall in love hard. And they show how hard they fall in love by their actions towards an indiscretion that a woman may do. If he thinks she's doing something, even if she's not doing it, if he just think it, the way he acts tells her that he's in love with it and he don't know what to do. Like that cop who pulls a weapon, he don't know what to do with this thing, and there's no counseling, no training. He has no control of it. He doesn't have the fruit of the spirit to control his urges. You understand? So Adam did not want to lose what God had gave him, and he missed paradise because of it. Come on, Ruben. Yes. Now, we see that played out further in the law of God in Deuteronomy. Turn to Exodus 21. I'm going to prove my point, how this is a trait of men from Adam, because we're all Adam's child. Unless we're born again, then we are the sons of God. But a lot of you still Adam's child. In the natural, you're still Adam's children. When you turn to Exodus chapter 21, let me see if I can find that. You'll see here it says, these are the regulations you must present to Israel. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he may serve for no more than 6 years. Set him free in the 7th year, and he will owe you nothing for his freedom. If he was single when he became your slave, he shall leave single. But if he was married before he became a slave, then his wife must be free with him. No problem. Here's the twist. If his master gave him a wife while he was a slave, and they had sons and daughters, then only the man will be free in the 7th year. But his wife and his children will still belong to his master. All right? Well, that ain't the end of the story. You can go, mister, but your wife and your kids got to stay in slavery, but you're free. Well, guess what happens next? It says, but the slave may declare, I love my master, I love my wife, and I love my children. I don't want to go free. If he does this, his master must present him before God. Then his master must take him to the door or doorpost and publicly pierce his ear with an awl, A-W-L. And after that, the slave will serve his master. How long, y'all? For life. This man rather go back into slavery because he's in love with his wife. That was Adam. Adam decided to die naturally because he wanted to stay with Eve. Slave law in the Bible. Yeah, come on, Ruben. Good one. All right. Now, y'all ain't gonna agree with me when I get down to this other thing here. Y'all still with me, but it ain't gonna be good after. It ain't gonna be good soon. It ain't gonna be good. It ain't gonna be good. All right. So the garden's perfect. Adam was jacked up. The church is perfect. Do you understand? This is an institution of God. The church is a perfect institution. Some of y'all said, but the church did this, but the church did that, the church did this, the church did. Did the church do that? Huh? Did the church do that? No, the church didn't do that. The church is perfect. The Bible says we are the church of God, which is in Christ. The church didn't do that. Who did it? Evil men did. Evil men did this. The evil men who call themselves the church, the ecclesia, they're evil. Is marriage perfect? Yes. Marriage is perfect. How do we know? The Bible says, what God has put together, what? Oh, it's perfect. But who jacked up marriage? Or is marriage jacked up, or are the people in it jacked up? Good to see you, brother Aaron. Come on, T-Vox. God created this institution. He created the Garden of Eden. He created marriage. He created the church. And all of it was perfect. Are there good judges on the bench? Yes. There are a lot of good judges on the bench. Just like there are a lot of good cops. I met 3 good judges. 2 of them recused themselves when I had a case standing before me against me for a crime I had committed, and because the 2 judges knew who I was, they said, we can't take the case. We worship with this man. And they recused themselves. The 3rd judge decided to take the case, and he wanted to go hard on me only because of the onlookers. He was trying to prove a point. But once I stated my case and told him I am guilty and I deserve to go to jail, when I told him I ain't trying to cover up nothing, there were no accessories, nobody else helped me, I did this thing. Once I came truthful after I sought the Lord, then the judge could do nothing but shake his head and says, we've never seen nothing like this in the court. Sir, pay the restitution and get out of my face. That reminds me of the Sunday school lesson today, Nehemiah. He sought King Artaxerxes permission to go back to Jerusalem and help and rebuild the city. But he went to the Lord first. Y'all, when you're faced with a situation, you got to go to God first before you go to your boss. You got to go to God first before you go to your mayor. You got to go to God first before you go to your congressman, before you go to your president, before you go to your governor. You got to go to God first. Nehemiah only spent this much time with the Lord. Said, now God, listen, I'm getting ready to go to this king, talk to him about, and I'm talk to you first. Give me the permission. Give me what to say. Bridle my tongue. Help me. Give me wisdom on how to ask for this raise. How to ask for my taxes to be cut down. How to ask, for some type of service, things that I'm not getting from the city. God, help me. Give me, when I pick up this phone, what do I say with the other person on this end who have the power to take this house from me? Nehemiah did it. I bet you can. So in other words, you're saying man dirty, everything that, yeah, man is just dirty. That's what I'm saying. Now, you're not going to like this part here. God calls the police the messengers of God. Do you understand? The police are the messengers of God. Do you understand this? When some people read this particular text, they like to read it as if this text is talking about the clergy. Like it's talking about someone that's in upper echelon, fivefold ministry, and blah, blah, blah. It is not. It is not. Here's what it says. Everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authorities come from God. What? All authorities come from God. Governing authorities? Wow. That's something. He says, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. So anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and they will be punished. What? What? It said all authority. For the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. I never have to look back when I see a police officer following me. I used to when my license was suspended. Not anymore. Everything in my car is legal. Every ID in my pocket is current. And I do not speed. I do the speed limit wherever I go. So when I see a police cop, I just wave at them sometimes. Hi. I don't worry about it because they ain't from me. The authorities are God's servants sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you. They are God's servants sent for the very purpose of punishing those who do what is wrong. So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep clear conscience. You're like, that can't be talking about the cops. That can't be talking about the government. It can't be. Really? Well, the next verse says, pay your taxes. You ain't paying your taxes to the church, although some of y'all call a tithe a tax. Pay your taxes too, he's saying, for these same reasons. For government workers need to be paid. He told you what he was talking about. They are serving God in what they do. When you go down into the tax collector's office, that is a worker working for the Lord. Give to everyone what you owe them. Pay your taxes and government fees to those who collect them, and give respect and honor to those who are in authority. I'm sorry to break the bad news to y'all, but you should be obeying the police who pull you over, especially if you're doing a crime. Now, does this book exclusively say that you're supposed to obey the government when the government is doing or saying or making you do something unrighteous? Absolutely not. Because that doesn't make sense, because it says God sent them. God doesn't send unrighteous on the righteous. When you're righteous, God won't use the government to push an unrighteous thing on you. It's all out of context. I already answered your question, Elizabeth. I already answered your question. Because I knew that was coming. It always comes when I read Romans. That question always come up. Well, so that means we got to obey a murderous cop? I suggest Sunday school. Did you see the video of them trying to arrest a black man who was waiting at the bus stop? Good thing another brother who knew the law. No, it's so many. And listen, I stopped watching a lot of that. I just can't. I sit with my daughter and we go over Bitcoin and foreign exchange market. That's how I spend my time. Because y'all keep getting caught up in this TV stuff, man, and news. Man, listen, I'm sorry. Me and my daughter are going to be way ahead of the game. So you got to obey the governing powers. And that means the police as well, y'all. Are there bad cops? A whole bunch of them. But here's the problem where you guys are flip-floppy, wishy-washy. Okay? Here's where y'all are wishy-washy, flip-floppy. They want to disband the police department in some of the Minnesota areas. All right? And around the city, around the country, actually. Well, in a certain neighborhood, I'm watching the news, the nightly news, and a certain neighborhood in Minnesota where they downsized the police presence. The crime had rolled so high in that area that the public began to rally the city to bring back the cops. Why? Because America's bipolar. You see, y'all usually go the extreme when a killing happens. Oh yeah, George Orwell. That's good, Glamorous. Y'all go the extreme when a killing happens. You can't remove the police. Because if somebody break in my house and the police are not available because y'all kicked them out of town, I'm gonna have to go after y'all. I'm gonna have to break in y'all's house. I'm gonna have to break in y'all's house and get back what y'all stole from me. You're bipolar. You don't know what you want. I've literally, here's where y'all are guilty again. I've literally seen a kid point a gun in a cop's face. Okay? A white cop face. The cop shoots and kills the kid. And the public on the news says, but you didn't have to kill the boy. Couldn't you have shot him in the leg? Couldn't you have given him a warning shot? That's where y'all make me vomit. Cops are always in the wrong when it comes to the public opinion. That's right, Elizabeth. Be careful what you ask for. You could have given him a warning shot in the, or shot him in the pinky toe or something, and the cop got a barrel pointing at him, and y'all marching in the street because the cop killed this kid. The way of the transgressor is hard. And if you, like Jesus says, if you live by the gun, you will die by the gun. Your death is justified when you decide to brandish a weapon outside illegally and go shooting up and down the street. When a cop pull up and you lose your life, that is the life you lived. You live that life. Get mad all you want to, but some of y'all are bipolar. And you can't see it as much as y'all call yourselves believers. The wisdom don't reign in you. It makes me question your Holy Spirit. These cops are trained to kill. Do you hear what I'm saying? And if you want to play cops and robbers, you will always lose. Always. So the life you lived is the life the same way you're going to die. That's right, Truth Reigns. We don't always think using our full cognitive abilities. I ain't marching with y'all. Because how many of these dead kids have we put in heaven and made marquees of them And they were the ones who was raping your daughters. Because a white cop killed this kid, we made a marquee and an angel of this kid. I'm not talking about George Floyd. I ain't talking about him, so don't bring in that Candace Owens crap with me. I already talked about George Floyd. He didn't deserve to die, right? But I've literally seen some of y'all marching in the street for a well-known thuggish, mental murderous type with a rap sheet this high, brandishing a weapon, pointing it at the cops. He dies, and y'all made him a glorified demagogue. You don't know how to divide. You're horrible at it. In the eyes of the public, no cop shooting is justified. None. None. If a cop shoots a weapon here in Chicago, it makes the nightly news. You know why? Because rarely ever do a Chicago police pull the trigger. Y'all keep believing the hype about Chicago? Out of all of the cops in Chicago, and I don't know how many they are, I'm going to do a Google search. Rarely ever do Chicago police pull their weapon, shoot their weapons. Rarely ever. Chicago was spending $1.6 billion on 13,000 police. And out of the 13,000, you can count how many shoot their weapons. Yes, they're made into martyrs. The one who broke in my house and the cops shot him in the back. You made them a martyr. Y'all are bipolar. Last but not least, Officer Eric Steelman here in Chicago shot and killed Adam Toledo. Where was Adam Toledo? Number one. Number two, what was Adam Toledo doing? Number three, the number three is going to upset you. In the case of a kid or an adult having a gun, I agree. In the case of kids that had cell phones or nothing in their hand yet shot dead, yeah, that's my earlier talking points. Training. How can we better train a cop to really focus on their target? When I say target, I don't necessarily mean target from his viewfinder. Target, I mean the person. God's watching. Here's where you and I are going to get in trouble. Because it's worse than that. God is watching. The age and the 2:30 a.m., that's the other part of that story is worse. Come on, Jess. Adam Toledo was 13 years. Hanging out with a known gangbanger with weapon charges. The 21-year-old, a 13-year-old hanging out with a 21-year-old at 2:30 in the morning doing what? Shooting at cars. If that kid had broken your house or accosted you or shot at you, whatever, you would have called the cops. And if this kid would have done something to get bodily harm on you or did something egregious towards you, his death would have been justified by you. But because you wasn't in the area, you didn't feel the pain. Now his death is not justified. Well, I wish that kid didn't die like this. God knows I wish he didn't. But what are y'all doing? And I know they're blaming the mother. I can't really fully blame the mom. Fully, no. Because I don't know the situation. And a lot of these moms are struggling trying to raise their children. So we can't just automatically go after the mom. I'm agreeing with some of the newscasters that I saw. I agree. You can't just run after the mom for that. But I'm sorry, y'all. I can't march with y'all. He should have been home. No, he shouldn't have gone. Yes, the cop had other options, and that's where I have a problem. No. What other options? You put an S after options. What other options did the cop have? Because my beginning of my talking points was, have we ever been in a situation where we were trained cops? That's it, Ruben. Mom is scared too. And you're in a dark area where there was lights there, so he had light on his gun. The cop had a light on his gun. He's in Little Village. The crime rate in Little Village is too high, number one. He's in an alley chasing two kids who are shooting in the neighborhood out of cars. What mentality would come over a good and a bad cop? Or you? What mentality would you be in at 2:30 in the morning chasing a young man with a gun down an alley? What would be your mentality? Somebody gonna leave here alive, and I pray it's me. So his adrenaline is popping. His heart is beating because he's running. And he don't know this boy is running, and too many cops told the story of how they chased after someone and that person turned around and shot at them. That's going through his mind. I don't know what other out could he have had but to try and protect his life. Now, the boy raises his hands, and the cop, it's too late. The cop has already reached that portal almost of no return, and we have done some of the craziest things at a split moment, split second. Sometimes it took us more than a second, because some of y'all said he raised his hand long enough. It's at least 10 seconds there. Or it's so easy to look at a video and say, oh, surely. It's easy to make these judgment calls. But it was a perfect storm against the cop and against that boy. Perfect storm. He was in a chamber that they didn't prepare him for. Maybe they did. In my earlier talking points, I talked about when you don't obey my authority, what happens? You can't train a man enough to stop a adrenaline, a physiological things going on inside. You can't really train the physiological when it's bursting like that. James, no, this is all about sadness tonight. Look at the topic. Thank you, James. I appreciate you coming over here, man. It's good to see you. Always good to see you. Ruben, you're one of the most honest men I know. Because I kept looking at that video and I kept saying, Even though that boy raised his hand, I know he had a weapon in his hands because when he's running, you can't see what the cop is seeing. While he's running, that little boy had a weapon, and he's running. The cop knew he had a weapon. So when he raised his hands is going up. The cop is blurred. Probably all kind of stuff is happening because his adrenaline. He can't see straight. He got a light on his thing, so he's got to focus, and fate and something just said, "He's gonna shoot me." It's too late. Now, what happens next is where you need to find a heart somewhere. Let me read Truth Reigns. The cop could have slowed down and assessed the situation better, huh? Yes, the crime rate is high, and he's out of his comfort zone. If you're that scared, you shouldn't be. No, Truth Reigns. I can't agree with you there. We always try to find these loopholes. The cop got a job to do. This boy is running down an alley. What happens if the boy ran into another citizen in the alley, emptying the garbage? The other issue takes us back to training. He's only been on the force for 6 years. He's still considered a rookie, a scared rookie at that. How's he gonna get his training? How's he got to get on the job training like all these other cops who were rookies. They served 1 day and they had to chase somebody down the alley. There's no way around this. Soldiers are trained for 9 weeks and deployed. He's no longer a rookie after 4 years. Come on, Glamorous. Come on, y'all. Y'all, come on now. It tripped me out when the cop asked the kid, where was he shot? Yep. Harvest. Listen. I saw the humanity in that cop. My godson died years ago at the age of 15 because he was out at 3 a.m. playing with guns with his friends. His mom thought it was okay to be out. You see? Yeah. Y'all listen. I kept looking at that shooting and saying to myself, I probably would have shot that kid myself. And I would have died inside. Law enforcement are trained far longer than soldiers, so that's hogwash, Glamorous says. Yeah, I have seen them talk down other ethnic groups with weapons. Deborah Knight, here we go. Here we go. I don't care what color that kid was. I think that cop would have killed. That cop would have did the same thing for whatever color. I know he was a brown. He wasn't a black kid. I mean, he has a vanilla face. So, I don't know if the cop knew he was Hispanic or he assumed he was white. I don't know. Blessed to you, Tamara. Tawana Wilder, blessed to you. I don't know. I don't think it had anything at this time. I'm sorry, y'all. This is the part where y'all going to have to disagree with me. I'm speaking based on a conversation with an ex-captain police. Yeah, and I hear you. No, I know. Me and Truth Reigns, we have that relationship. And all of the cops and police chiefs that I was watching on the news were saying what I'm saying right now. And I know the union protects their own. I do know that. I'm not that silly. Yeah. Call it what you want, but it didn't have to happen that way. It didn't have to happen, but we have to explain things, because now, do we charge the man? Do we fire the man? Things got to be explained. Now, it's not for us to explain it; it's for the powers that be to explain it. But it's got to be explained. So we got to put yourself in that position. Sometimes you probably would have had to, because some of these kids, yeah. We look at the age of these kids. Come to Chicago, y'all, and look at the killing rate among blacks amongst each other. They ain't in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. These kids are teenagers. Young people are killing one another and killing us. So this cop is used to chasing teenagers. Maybe not this particular cop, but the police department is used to killing. So these young men are killers. You'd think the cop had time to sit down. He's 13, so that's different. Yeah, they look for excuses. Take their hips and confront the gun-toting criminals killing from glamorous is glamorous going off. Look, when you're chasing somebody that has a gun at 2:30 in the morning through a dark alley, yeah, you don't know if this is a short man, a 13-year-old. All you know is that you could lose your life. That's my whole point. Thank you, T-Box. He was Mexican. I knew he was Hispanic. Growing up when the street lights came on, man, come on, David Weaver. That's what I like about you, man. That's what I like about you. There's no way you would catch me. And when I grew up, when I had my children, there's no way you would catch my children out before the street lights came on. Oh, absolutely not. Unless I was out there with them. There's no way. My father would beat our behind. If that street light was on and we was even sitting on the porch, oh no, we was getting a whooping. And it saved our life. All 9 of his children are still alive, and we lived on the west side of Chicago, on Albany Street, where we heard bullets going over our heads. In the heart of the dividing line of the Vice Lords and the Disciples and the El Rickens and the Peastone Rangers lived right there. That's where their territory was. And 9 of my father's children survived the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Well, the 70s is the last one born. They won't deal with the deaths and crimes of our own, quiet as I... Glamorous. Oh, glamorous. Sophia says, when will we be responsible for our actions? Please, yes. Deborah, all right. Yeah. And I feel y'all's passion. I know, Glamorous. I really feel your passion. If you're that scared of losing your life, find another profession. Truth reigns. Come on. Please, come on. Didn't the cop try to perform chest? And this is my point, T-Box. This is where I'm going to end the show right here. Officer Eric Tillman said these words, and I wrote them down. He said, he shot the boy. In other shootings where a cop is upset and he shoots a kid dead or man, he shoots him, I've seen the cop literally violently turn the kid over or the man over and try and handcuff him while a bullet or bullets is in the body. He's still handcuffing them. And then he's checking the pockets for weapons or drugs or stuff like that. And then he rolls the man over again. And then he looks for bullet wounds. And then he calls for a paramedic. That's the usual killing that I've seen. But Officer Tillman said, look at me. Are you all right? Where you shot? 24th and Sawyer, shots fired by police. Stay with me, buddy. Stay up. Come on, man. Talk with me. Those were his words. What was going through this man's mind? A father. I felt a father going ballistic inside. Y'all couldn't see the emotion. I saw it. And he freaked out. And he kept trying to administer CPR. Come on, man. Come on. You breathe, man. Come on. You can pull through. That's what he was doing. And his buddy cops, they all were there. Come on, man. Come on. Where you shot? Where you at? Come on. Breathe. And then he realized that this boy is not reviving, and he sat on the ground, and he put his head on his cop friends had to console him, and he collapsed. Pretty much. He needed to be consoled. That ain't no bad cop. And that's not a cop who intended to kill a kid. If you can't see that, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. And you need training yourself. So what did they do? They started digging up his record. He is a Marine Staff Sergeant in the Army Reserve, served in Afghanistan. He narrated a Toys for Tots campaign on social media from the 10th District. You can find all that on YouTube. But the problem is, he, like other cops, are a product of their training. Whether we like it or not, they are a product of their training. So this institute called the Invisible Institute, they tracked Officer Stillman's history, and he had 3 misconduct complaints against him since 2015. And 2 of the misconducts involved improper search, but there were no disciplinary action taken. So a complaint doesn't mean that is true. He just got a complaint. There's a lot of businesses that that was reported to the Better Business Bureau. That doesn't mean that the business is a bad business. So I don't know what happened with these 3 complaints, but they have to dig that stuff up. You know how many, I just mentioned how many cops, how many thousands of cops out there, and 3 misconduct complaints, 3 from 2015? Please. That's nothing compared to many of these cops out there who've got upwards in dozens of complaints, and they've only been on the force for a short period of time. He just got 3. 2 for and y'all gonna try. This is what, and y'all doing for this cop what some of the whites and Fox News do for a kid who got shot. Right away going to George Floyd history. Well, he's got fentanyl in his system, so surely he had to be a bad kid. It's hard to talk to some of y'all. How should law enforcement deal with the armed suspects? Come on, Glamorous you. I'm liking you tonight. My friend is a cop, and I seen this up close and believe he didn't want this. I feel bad for him. Thank you, Tawana, to inspire. I do too. The average situation like these already have predetermined expectations, unfortunately. Yes, Elliot Banks. Now, Crawford, I will agree with you that the paperwork was there was some lying going on in the paperwork. I don't know if he did it or whether his cop friends did it or whether he turned it in. So of course it was coerced, absolutely, because the paperwork did say that the kid reached for him or came for him or something like that. So yes, the paperwork did lie. I'm sorry though. I've lied under stress. I lied under stress. Y'all gonna focus on that report all you want to. I lied under stress. I know, Nakia. Thank you, Glamorous. I appreciate you. Yeah, y'all. Listen, this was a tough show to do. And it was even more tougher for y'all to even hear it. And I get it. I get your disdain for tonight's show. You wanted me to sing a song and dance and do a jig. Wasn't going to do that tonight. So, y'all can pick it and nitpick it I'm going to bed. But I'm going to stand firm on this one here. George Floyd died senselessly by the knee of a murderous man who worked for the police force. The city of Minnesota paid his salary. And it's almost like they raised him up to the date of fate that he killed a man, cold-blooded. Now he is in court and may pay for it or may not pay for it like you wanted him to be treated by the court system or the or whatever system, okay? The judicial system, the penal system. We don't know how this thing is going to happen, what's going to happen. So we mostly agree with that. I agree also with most of you about Officer Kim Potter. I believe that it was a punk move for her to shoot and kill a man on his way away from you. That's a punk move. But as it pertains to this young man, Officer Eric Stillman, and the death of Adam Toledo, I can't agree with you. I'm sorry. Remorse hit that officer. Because bad cops don't administer CPR like that. And collapse like that on just, I saw humanity in that man. And if he could play that, go back in time, just from the time that call came in, he would probably give that call to someone else. Yes, me too, Glamorous. I pray for the justice will be served with Chauvin and get him off the streets. Get that man off the streets because he is a danger to humanity. Get him off the streets and then get him some help. Jail don't help nobody, but get him the help that he needs. I believe in counseling even for murderers. You understand? And I believe in capital punishment. Y'all don't like that statement, did you? Well, God didn't change his mind. I read to you Romans chapter 13, and let me read in my book here what the footnotes say about chapter 13. You ain't gonna like it. Let me read it and go. Clock keeper, I saw you earlier. This is uncharted waters that we are navigating through, given the condition of the world in which we now live. Police aren't trained in how to unarm a 13-year-old kid who's about to take your life. Their training is against, armed criminals, which now include our children. Yep. Come on, Harvest Crawford. I like the way you just typed that. That blessed me right there. Here's what my footnote says about Romans 13. The powers that are ordained. You have to look at in the book of Daniel, chapter 4:32. Paul does not suggest that God approves a corrupt government. I'm answering, who is that, Gwen? He does not approve a corrupt government, ungodly officials, or unjust legislations. Yes, that's right, Priscilla. He will forever be haunted by the shooting of Toledo. Yeah. Sometimes, however, in punishment for the sins of the people or for other reasons known to him, God allows evil rulers to have authority for a time. As the Old Testament prophets frequently testify, ideally, God grants authority to serve good ends. How that authority is exercised will be the accounting of each to whom it has been given. Now, although obedience to earthly authorities is the general rule here, a clear biblical principle is that we may need to disobey government if commanded to sin. For loyalty to God always takes priority over all human authorities. You understand? The book of Esther, chapter 4. Daniel chapter 3 to further answer your questions. That's it, Joanne. God is just. When government officials use force to restrain and punish evil, they are not doing wrong. Rather, they are the ministers of God and are doing good. Therefore, Christians may serve as police officers and soldiers in good conscience. You can serve on the force. If you don't like it, do something about it. To bear a sword is to carry and use weapons. So this implies the right to carry out capital punishment on wrongdoers. You are against the death penalty. God ain't, if the government states it so. For swords were used to take people's lives. The fact that God authorizes governments as his servants to use force even to the point of taking humans' lives does not contradict the command, thou shalt not kill. Exodus 20:13. The word used in that commandment refers to criminal murder and does not include judicial taking of life or killing in war, for which the Old Testament uses other words. The same is true of the Greek word translated kill or murder. So you got to dissect it and separate one from the other. What God did in Genesis chapter 9, he made sure you understood what he was saying here. He says, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb, but flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his life or his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. You have no right to take another man's life. His life was made in the image of God. You don't have the authority. So because you took his life, if the government say your life got to be taken, the Bible backs it up in Genesis 9, and this was not the law of Moses. And I feel you, CAKS. You can be against it all you want to, and these murderers go free. So what is it called? It's collateral damage. It's the spoils of war. It's unfortunate. If you literally saw on TV a man murder another man, and you are against the death penalty, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Should that man be let free because you are against the death penalty? Or are you going to abide by what God said in chapter 9 of Genesis? God's word says kill the man. I don't care what man say. Kill him. Y'all going against the scriptures? Huh? Is that what y'all doing? You disagree with Genesis chapter 9? Is that what y'all telling me? because you have human feelings towards a man who killed another man who was made in God's image? Is that what it is? Well, your human frailty and feelings and all of the grace that's in your bones is why America is almost the murder capital of the world. Yes, Faith Cannon. And if you're new to the show, no, K is innocent man. I'm talking about a man who killed a man, and you talking about an innocent man. Why would you mix the subjects? You saying you against the death penalty because innocent people are getting killed. Good, reform it. But you can't get rid of the death penalty because the Bible says, kill the man if need be. And if the government decides to spare the man's life, I'm for it. Did you see what I did? Romans 13 fixes all that. Old dispensation. If you get rid of this, you've got to get rid of everything in the Old Testament since it's an old dispensation. Is that your point, ZZ? Because there's a difference between dispensation and law of Moses. So if you want me to get rid of the old dispensation, everything from Genesis to Malachi got to go in the garbage. You got to stop quoting those Old Testament scriptures because that's old dispensation. Where did God change his mind? I'm going a little long here because I need to find out where y'all's brains are. We keep changing the Bible. That's why America is a murder capital. That's what y'all doing, ZZ. Y'all choosing what the quote. Y'all choosing that, not me. God says I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. This is the same God yesterday. That's the same God today that said, if you kill somebody, you deserve to die. If the government says, hang the man, God sits in his throne and says, hang him. Or get rid of Romans 13. I'm confused by y'all. Y'all confusing me. He didn't change his mind. Yeah, they're getting away with murder today because of Jesus' grace and mercy, but sometimes God has to put Jesus in the... It makes no sense. Come on, Truth Reigns. I stand with God, period. I don't stand with y'all on this. Because your heart... What did the Bible say about your heart? What did the Bible say about your heart? Because y'all will keep... That's why some of you women, you fall in love with the wrong man and you get another wrong man. I love your heart. Follow your heart. Don't follow your heart. Your heart belongs to God. Don't be following y'all's heart in all these other places. That's why you keep erasing the Bible. Every few years, y'all erase the Bible. That's why the NIV keeps changing the words and taking out stuff because it's offensive. That's y'all are progressive. Y'all are progressing too much. And y'all think this is something. Romans chapter 9, you talking about an old dispensation? Guess what's going to happen in the new dispensation of eternity or the tribulation period? Are you going to say, oh, God can't do this in Revelation? That's an old dispensational practice. You can't be killing these people. God is going to instruct and cause these wars to happen in a newer dispensation. People will die by the millions. Actually, billions. Well, I'll do that later. Billions. Then what? How do you explain that? Y'all keep weakening this Bible. That's why these kids are wicked. That's why they robbing and pillaging. That's why America is jacked up. Because the Christians are weak. You are a weak generation. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Japan is the number one nation in the world as it pertains to no violence. Japan don't play. God ain't playing. Come on, Michelle. He ain't playing. He's not. ZZ. I said Mosaic law. Did I not? I talked about the Mosaic law. I talked about the before law. I talked about the after law of grace. I talked about eternity, all this stuff. If we don't read the scriptures as a whole, we go to the movies and can recite all of the actors' roles and the plots and the times and the period pieces. We can do all that and make sense and make videos about how to explain this movie. But when it comes to the Bible, well, that's, y'all scare me. Y'all scare me. Who was ZZ? You, Mitzi. You, ZZ. That's the name I've been giving you for a while. You've been answering to it. The conversation of Saul to Paul indicates the things that Paul must suffer for the gospel. He may have gotten away with murder with man, but the gospel made him pay. The Lula B, come on. Yeah, the heart is deceitful in all things. Who can know it? He gave you a new name. Yeah, it's the last hour. Come on. Yeah, Priscilla. Y'all are adding and taking away stuff. I'm sorry. Come on. Come on. Y'all, man, y'all. I'm scared of y'all. All right, Kay. What are you saying? What I'm trying to say is that some people have been accused of murder and put to death and later found out they didn't commit. Yeah, I know. No, I hear you. I heard your first comment. I knew exactly what you were saying. I agree that the system needs to be reformed. Don't get rid of the capital punishment. Nope, reform it the best way you can. You get rid of it. That's why we jacked up today. So I hear what you're saying. Call me Jamaica then, man. Now you ZZ. I like ZZ. Oh, that's, yeah. What Priscilla say? Yeah, stay out of the NIV version. Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm going to go. Oh, Priscilla said, yeah, don't add. I know I went over. I'm 7 minutes over, I think. So listen, y'all. I knew you weren't going to agree with this show. I knew that. All right, then ZZ, I ain't going to call you that no more. You answered to it all for the past 3 weeks. You've been answering to that. That's a beautiful name. I like it. I ain't calling you Jamaica. No, that's too common. I'm going to find another name for you. It's called collateral damage. Yes. He allows it to rain upon it. That's my whole point. We need cops because if we had one, it would be the wild. Right. If we wouldn't have one, I think that's what you meant. Not even getting saved will keep you from the. Ooh, be not deceived. God's not mocked. See, I love it. Yeah, you did. You was answering to it. Where you been? Thank you, KS. I got nervous, KS, about you. I got nervous. I'm like, come on, KS, don't do this to me. We've been, you and I been, we've been here. Don't do this to me. So yes, I totally believe in reformation. There are a lot of innocent men and women on the death row right now, and thank God for one of the governors here. They did what's the word when you get rid of something? Is it moratorium? They did a moratorium here in Illinois. They stopped it, and as they investigated more, they started releasing people on death row because they realized that they were innocent. So they had to do a moratorium on the death penalty until they can try and reform this thing. Yeah. So Romans 13 supports it. Romans 13 report the reformation of the death penalty, and Romans 13 support the states that shoot a man with the poison or whatever and kill him. Romans 13 supports it all. Genesis chapter 9 supports it. And I support it because it's in the Word. If y'all keep chopping this Bible, the Bible itself says in the book of Revelation, which y'all need to read, because apparently y'all ain't reading. That's why y'all commenting the way you are. It says, if you take away from the word or you add to the word, you will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. You won't make it. You won't make it. All right. Good night, y'all. I love you. Hey, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the share button. Subscribe if you like. If you're not gonna want to subscribe to this show. You're not gonna want to subscribe to this one. Yeah. I see y'all tomorrow. Relationship. We'll talk about some stuff. Okay? How about that? Something more nicer, more pleasant, because this was depressing. Lethal injection. Thank you, Truth Reigns. I knew it was something. If it were Japan, Asian cops would knock out any young punk who wants to kill because they're having a bad. Yeah. That's also Proverbs 30 chapter. Yeah, I know they're waiting. My editor was waiting also on my book number 2. That's why you haven't seen my teaching on Revelation. I had to get her that manuscript, and I put it in her hand yesterday. So be looking out for my second book, Mother's Day. That's 3 weeks from now? I don't know. My second book called Lola will be coming out Mother's Day. All right. Got to keep writing the books. I have 7 that I have to write in that series. So y'all keep praying for me that the Lord will stop the day. Instead of 24 hours, give us 36. All right. Have a blessed time, y'all. Good night to you. Still love you too, Truth Reigns. I'll always love you. Always. Always. I even love Crawford. Crawford was acting up tonight, but we good now. All right, y'all. It's my late supper night. Take this war clothes off and get into bed. I love y'all. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Bye-bye.
Well, goodbye. 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 Enjoy yourself. Bye. Goodbye. 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 Bye. Well, goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
Fellas, does it seem like you can't get a good woman? Ladies, wonder why you can't keep a man? Then read The 4 Women That Men Desire, Volume 1, by Sirwalterj to figure out how to break the cycle. Go to Amazon.com to get your copy today.